بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. ما شاء الله. I pray to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that all of you are doing well. And there are some things that I want to briefly discuss. As you see, this is selected readings and scattered thoughts, right? Selected readings and scattered thoughts. So there's a combination. We're reading some beneficial things, and then I'm sharing some reflections on different issues that I have, and that is taking place till we start our next book, which will be next week, inshallah ta'ala. But yesterday, I had a deep discussion with you. At least it was deep to me. It may not have been deep to you. To me, it was very important and very essential. And I say something a lot, and I don't know if everyone is following me. I hope you are. I want to state something about my approach to this whole religious matter in our Islam and in our practice, and the reality in which we live in. Myself and anyone I can influence, especially among people from my ethnicity, African American Muslims, African American people in general, but specifically, since we're talking about Islam, we're talking about African American Muslims. I'm on a mission to free us from servitude to other people in the name of Islam. I'm on a mission for that. Like, that's a mission for me. I hate it. It is, to me, one of the worst munkars, evil deeds that is happening to us as African American Muslims. I think that's one of the worst. There are many things, but I think that is a root cause to all the other evil things. And for me, I spend my life, I'll sacrifice my life if I could just free one African American Muslim from that plantation. So you can look at me as the Nat Turner or the Harriet Tubman of African American Muslims. You can look at me that way if you want. Right? I honestly hate that. And I spent a lot of my time in my life traveling around the Muslim world. And I've noticed every people in every place that I've been are on a mission to empower their people in every aspect of life, in business, in culture, in education, in religious scholarship, in socialization, you name it. Every people, and I'm speaking among the Muslims and in general non-Muslims, but I'm talking about Islam in this context. They're building in general for the ummah. Of course, we Muslims. So in general, every success of any Muslim, any world, and anywhere in the world is an ultimate success for all Muslims. So in general, that's for every Muslim. But in specific, they're taking care of their people and their children and future generations as an ethnic group. This is a real reality. The thing is, they get away with it in a way, which is, and I'm saying it's wrong. I approve of it 100%. A lot of it because they have countries, so they can hide their ethnicity under their country, right? So they'll build for their country, which really supports their ethnicity, if you understand what I mean by that. So for instance, if they're from one country, they'll say, our country, as if everybody in their country is Muslim, and that's not the case. In most of the countries, you have kuffar, disbelievers, innovators, but they'll work on behalf of the country. And in that way, the country is dominated by their ethnicity. So in the same way, they're uplifting their ethnicity, if you understand what I'm saying. Are y'all following me here? This is serious stuff. And if we don't get it, we're going to destroy future generations. We have to get this point, right? So for instance, they'll say the Egyptian people or the Syrian people or the Palestinian people or the Jordanian people or the Pakistani people or the Bengali people or the Lebanese people, they are always emphasizing that which supports their ethnicity. And it doesn't just include Muslims. It has a way of affecting the non-Muslims too and benefiting them. Nothing wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. The only problem I have with it is when it's the exclusion of other people. And most of the time, since everyone else has a land, has a country, it affects us as African Americans the most because they've taught us we're not Americans and we're not from where you from, so we're just orphans in your mind. And we're treated like that. But not the orphan, the way the Prophet ﷺ said you treat orphans, the way people denigrate and disdain and oppress orphans, the other way. But in reality, we've accepted that. So in Islam, we've become the servant class of every other ethnicity of Muslims. And this has to stop. But the only one who can really stop it is us when we say no more. No more. Absolutely not. And they even have us believing that it's unlawful to feel this way. And we buy it. You would find us saying, why is he talking about these issues? Because these issues are destroying us as a people, as a collective. They're destroying us. And now they don't even have to do it. We do it for them. We became our own worst enemy. We will sell us to someone else quicker then the others have to kidnap us, have to enslave us, will sell us to someone else. No dignity, no pride, no honor, zero. As a collective, I'm not talking about individuals, as a collective, this has to stop. And the only way we can stop it is when we recognize it exists and we fiercely fight against it. No one can afford to remain silent about this issue until it stops. It has to stop. And I plead with you, I beg you, wake up. It's not against Islam for you to have honor and dignity for yourself. It's not. It's not unlawful. It is praiseworthy. If you study the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will learn about a bunch of tribes who had honor and status and dignity, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognized that, agreed with it, and encouraged that people recognize their own leaders and honor their tribesmen. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it religiously permissible to give money of az-zakat to specific leaders to strengthen their Islam from different tribes, from different groups of people, that if you saw influential people, you could give them zakat money to strengthen their resolve to be Muslim and to bring others. That was a wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ to build people. That's our religion. That's our deen. But for us, sit down, sit back, while I dictate the process for you. And we'll sit there and listen to that and say, yes, sir, boss. It's disgusting. I was listening to something yesterday. I have to speak about it. I can't not speak about it. I'm watching us as blacks sit and listen to someone tell you how they're going to control you in the name of Islam. And you have no input, no authority, and you're being directly impacted by those decisions. Think about that stuff. Someone is telling you, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're building, and it has no impact directly on you and your empowerment and your upliftment. And you've been in the same conditions for decades, and you don't see nothing wrong with that. Something is wrong with us. Seriously. Something is seriously wrong that we have to fix. Then it almost made me want to cry thinking about our condition and how we just allow this stuff. We talk about accomplishments and we talk about development, and we have no place of leadership. None. Zero. You're not a real leader. You don't make any decisions. You just take orders. And you take orders not from your people, from others who don't live with you, who don't share with you, who don't suffer with you, who don't have your conditions, and they're giving you all the instructions. That is insane. That's insane. Only a crazy person does that. That's insane. Think about it. And one of it was even a question asked about African Americans. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah when you think about this stuff, right? And they talking, there's no respect, zero, no respect for you at all. Talk down to you and you listening to it like you got popcorn. Zero respect. There was a question asked. How are the African Americans? And the person said, marry their women, intermarriage. I'm not talking about marrying, ain't no black men marrying no foreign women. That ain't happening. We all know that. So you mean you marry our women to teach them? What, we stupid? We can't teach our own women? Come on, let's keep this real. We can't teach our own women? We that bad? Not teach them so they can teach their women. No, you marry their women and teach their women. Huh? Are you serious? But let us talk about marry your women. Absolutely not. You don't see that? You don't see that? You don't see that's a problem? You're instructed to marry their women. You say intermarry. You're not talking both ways. You mean marry their women. To teach them. You're not saying let them marry your women so they can teach your women. Absolutely not. That's domination of a whole race. Are you crazy? And we would sit there and say, okay, man, what the hell is wrong with us? Seriously. Do you know what that means? They're trying to annihilate you. They're trying to annihilate you. That's insane. Only crazy people would do that. Am I saying it's haram? No. I'm talking about the sinister plot that's behind it that you're not paying attention to. It's all in your face, but you're not watching. It's there. They're trying to eliminate you altogether. Wipe out your manhood, wipe out your dignity, and you become a servant class. This is crazy. This is insane. And we went from people like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, even people with deviant ideas had dignity and honor and respect for themselves. We got al-haq and we become like, what the heck is this? We would call all them deviants and off the right path and all that. These people had honor and respect for themselves. At least we can give them that. We got the truth and no respect, no honor, no dignity, no pride. And I'm talking about pride just being when Allah created you. Ashamed of yourself. Ashamed to be an African American. Ashamed to be black. What is wrong with you? No one would accept. No one, no other culture would accept that for themselves. No one in the world accepts that. How do you? And how do you let someone tell you that? You're not capable of leading. You're not capable of organizing. You're not capable of building. We must tell you what to do. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with us that we accept such stuff? Worse, some of us actually studied. We actually learned and memorized books, and we're still slaves. What the heck? Why did you learn? Why did you spend all those years overseas to be a servant? What? It doesn't make sense. I studied with Sheikh Fulan and Sheikh Fulan, and you a slave. I want to tell you something. There is a narration about Sayyiduna Bilal, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It's strong. It's very strong. The point, it's mentioned in the books of Sirah. You know, Bilal was a slave. We know all the famous slave. They put the rock on him. He say, Al-Ahad, Al-Ahad. You remember the story of Bilal. When Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu came to free Bilal, to purchase his freedom, Bilal was in that condition radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And he asked Abu Bakr, when Abu Bakr was going to buy his, he said, are you freeing me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are you freeing me to be a servant of you? If it is for you, leave me as I am. Allahu Akbar. Look at that statement. That's a man. He said, if you freeing me for you, to serve you, leave me as I am. Allah. What a man. That should be a lesson for us. Are you teaching me to free me from kufr, to free me from innovation, to free me from misguidance, or are you teaching me to serve you? Which one? That's what we should be asking. Are you teaching me the knowledge to free me to the worship of Allah, or to make me in bondage to you? Which one? That's a question we should ask. Are you teaching me so you can say, look what I even teach my slaves? My slaves know the knowledge. Or are you teaching me so those people can be dignified leaders in their communities and build for the purpose of the ummah, inshallah, leaders, lights of guidance? Or are there subjects who real men and women will never accept? Listen to what I said. Are they proud leaders, educated, strong, or they're servants who real men and women will never accept? There's a big difference. You can't send no boy with a message to a king. Let me explain something to you. You cannot send a boy with a message to a king. That does not how that works. You can't do it. Don't fool yourself. No lofty king is going to pay attention to a messenger boy. That's not going to happen. Kings talk to kings. Leaders talk to leaders. That's how that go. Rulers talk to rulers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Both. Oppressor and the oppressed. I'm talking to both of you. The oppressor who's oppressing people in the name of Islam, and the oppressed person who's allowing that to happen to him. I'm talking to both of you. We're not going for that. Call us what you want. Make takfir of us. Call us seditionists. Call us whatever the hell you want to call us. But you're going to call us men at the end of the day. Men and women. That's what you will call us at the end of the day. You call all them other names, we're not impressed. We're not threatened. We're not shamed. Call it whatever the heck you want. But you will call us men and women at the end of the day. Dignified, honorable, African-American, Muslim men and women. That's what you will recognize us as. Whether you like it or not. That's how that's going to go. I mean it. And I say to all of us who listen to me, and it's hundreds of y'all daily, stand up and be black men and women with pride, with honor, with dignity. It's necessary for the health of this nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't be a servant class to no one. Not for their money, not for their knowledge, not for their status, not for their political stuff. Be dignified, even if you're in the worst conditions in the world. You know, there was a homeless man in New York. I remember the video. And he was homeless, and somebody tried to insult him because he was homeless. But he was intelligent. He was educated. He just ran on hard luck. And when that person insulted him, he responded with the most eloquent, articulate rebuttal that you would ever heard. You would have thought he was a professor somewhere, the way he responded to that person who insulted him. Yes, I am homeless. I ran on hard times, but I am still have my dignity. And you will not insult me. In fact, you really not like that. God favored you, but you not like that. Don't think you're like that. And he showed him. That person felt this small when he finished. This small. The homeless guy in the streets of New York took that person and probably was a Wall Street, suit type, made him feel this little when he finished with him. So all what I'm teaching specifically is to empower us. That's it. The correct knowledge will empower us, right? Because once you learn, then you're not so intimidated by a person, and you would see that they don't know as much as they claim, which is all of us. None of us know as much as we claim, and they're no exception to the rule, right? But you don't know. So since you don't know, they can act like Sheikh al-Islam. It don't make a difference because you don't know anyway. My sheikh, he said something to me the other day, and I laughed. I was cracking up. He's funny, right? He's black too. He's black, African American, over 70 something years old, one of my teachers. He said to me, he was studying overseas in the 70s, like 71, 72. That's when his study days were, in the 60s and late 60s and early 70s. So they was in Azhar. Then when they first started letting African Americans go to Saudi Arabia, they was the first group. In fact, mostly all of the Salafi people you see today, the African American Salafis, the older ones were his students. He was the one who brought that Salafi stuff. May Allah overlook. And today he says it all the time. May Allah overlook his inspiring it. But now he's straight teacher of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Straight. He said to me, he had a companion. They were intellectuals, very smart, studied they got PhDs, and they were very intellectual. And they were studying Islam in the time when Black people were becoming Muslim. It was this, the struggle, Black pride, education, empowerment. Islam was like a revolution for them, revolutionary tool. So they were the educated group, master's degrees, PhDs. They were going for that stuff. So they were in Saudi Arabia. This is in the 70s, right? So one of them, he died, rahimahullah. I don't want to mention their names. Just, I'm just telling you the story, right? Maybe if the sheikh wants to tell it himself, I'll let him, but I won't do it. I won't mention his name. He said, so you have a few African Americans, the big names, right? And one of them, the sheikh's like close friend, he was like a super big guy, but a super intellectual. And I have his whole library, and he was an intellectual. And when I say I have his whole library, I'm talking about Islamic books, philosophy, medicine, martial arts, Japanese art. I mean, these people were incredible in the stuff they were studying. Then Islam Oh my goodness. I was shocked to know that there were some of our people that were on that level of Islamic studies. I mean, major stuff, volumes of fiqh, usul al-fiqh, Arabic language, balagha, uh, ulum al-hadith, mantiq, logic, like just so much tasawwuf, everything, like in the 70s. And I'm gonna tell you this story so you can understand what I'm saying, right? Um, so he said, you know, and these are educated people, so don't take this wrong, but this is a strategy. He said to them in Saudi Arabia with the Africans, Americans, he said, y'all listening to this nonsense? He said this to them because they selling that Wahhabi doctrine. He said, this stuff don't even make no sense. He said, but you know what they did? Because he's intellectual. He said they took the most uneducated Arab, which was the Bedouins of Najd, which where the Wahhabis come from, and the most uneducated African American, the guys in the inner city who were criminals, who didn't learn much, they didn't get much opportunity to education, the system failed them, and they put that together and shook it up in a hot sauce bottle. What do you think you're gonna come up with? He said you took the most uneducated Arab and the most uneducated African American, and you put it in a hot sauce bottle and shook it up and see what you get. So the guy said to him, what was you reading? That Arabic? He said, Arabic? He said, it wouldn't make a difference. It was English. You couldn't read it. He was being sarcastic. But the point that he was making was like, whether it was in Arabic, which those didn't understand, right? Those Bedouin Arabs didn't understand well. They didn't educated people, most ignorant of the people. And then you're talking about high English literature, which is not going to be given in the inner cities. So no matter what, we hit, right? The point is, elevate our education, and then we'll see things differently. Educate us, and we'll see everything different. And one of the biggest tricks we should have learned from slavery that's still happening today in us in our Islamic development is someone tell us don't read books. No, 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 no. That's a mistake. You want to hide something from us, put it in books. And then you're going to tell a people who was subjugated by the lack of literacy and access to information, you're going to tell them don't read and just listen to me. That's a dangerous mix. Do you know the history of these people you telling don't read no books? Do you know what people have done to them by giving them no access to reading? Do you realize who you're talking to? There's a difference from learning from living teachers and reading trustworthy books and cross-referencing and getting educated than just reading books with no support. But you know, one of our students who's back with, he said something to me the other day. He was talking about a group, and he said, do you know they don't allow their books to get to the general public? They don't even allow their books to their followers. It's all controlled. And then when you go to the bookstores in those neighborhoods, it's filled with Wahhabi books, no Sunni books. But the Sunni books that you do have, you don't allow free access to them. So what do? They go read Wahhabi books. So in your effort to control them, you are destroying them. While you have volumes of books for yourself and your people. That's deep. And the Wahhabis do it too. The books that's given to them in English are summaries of summaries, while in their own culture is volumes and volumes of books. And you know what they say to you? Oh, we didn't teach you that yet. Huh? We didn't teach you that yet. And guess what? For the rest of your existence, there are going to be things we don't teach you so we can always be over top of you. This is some serious stuff, man. This is some serious stuff. And unfortunately, too many of us, and I would say us as leaders, we sold out for money and for status and for the show. We still have servant mentalities ourselves. How are we going to empower people when we ourselves are slaves to the same people we're trying to raise up? We can't be that way either. We can't afford it. Even if I love you, Sayyidi, I love you, Sheikhi, I have a bigger problem. Yeah, I love you. Yes, I do. I do. I think you're a super scholar, but I have to take care of my people. And you don't understand my people, nor do you understand their plight, nor are you there. You don't got it. You can't help us. You can teach us. And we have to take that knowledge and build with it. You can't control us. It will never work. We have special circumstances that you know nothing about. And you think that you're going to Islamicize your way into controlling us. It's not going to happen. Not when some of us are woke for real. No. That doesn't mean we don't respect you. But we love ourselves just like we love you. And we want good for ourselves just like we want good for you. It's fine. Just educate us. We'll do the rest. Give us the knowledge and let us figure. We're men. You know, we're women. We're responsible. We are shepherds too. So if you have some knowledge, give us the knowledge. And we will learn how to apply it properly in our given circumstances, because we know our circumstances better than you. And we're not that foolish to let you make us think you understand our problem better than us who are living the problem. Right? Did you hear what I said? We're not that foolish to let you think that you're going to tell us how to solve our problem that you don't live and we live. We've experienced it for centuries now. And you're going to come tell us how we should take care of ourselves when you don't have our challenges, our experience, our know-how, nor what it's like to be in that condition. You know nothing about it. So what you should do is be a brother to us and aid us in all that is good, instead of becoming an obstacle in our growth and development and freedom. Don't become an obstacle. Become an ally. That's what you should do as a Muslim. You should be a supportive ally, not a hidden enemy behind an enemy. This is real stuff. And listen, this conversation, it's irrefutable, except for someone who's an enemy to our people. It's irrefutable. It's obvious. Every single one of us recognize it. The oppressor and the oppressed, both of us know it. But, subhanAllah, we need some people who's courageous enough to look the oppressor in his face and say, you're an oppressor and you're wrong. Our religion doesn't call for this. And you should see, if we get it right, how it benefits the whole nation of Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You shouldn't keep us in these, try to keep us in the condition. Because I want to remind you of something, O oppressor, in the name of Islam. I want to remind you something. We still have our fight with the system that is already in place of white supremacy. That fight didn't change because we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We're still fighting that system. We still live with that battle. Now you've made an additional distraction because now we got to watch you too. That's a double whammy. We came to Islam to help us fight this oppressive system. And now we get to Islam and we find you even more oppressive than them, because you're impressing with the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what you're using to oppress us. At least them, it was kufr. And we understood we're fighting kufr. We come to Islam and now we're fighting you with the name of Allah and his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Think about that. You don't want to be in that position, do you, for real? You really want to use Islam to oppress a people? Do you really? Honestly, maybe you don't see it. I know you're not, because you're intelligent. You know what you're doing. You're very smart. You learned from them. That's how you learned it. You learned it from them. You studied them very well. Your whole structure is like them, not like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's like them. It's set up like they did it. You saw their success. You studied the 48 laws of power and all that other nonsense. And you emulate it and put an Islamic covering over top of all that kufr. And you pushing it down our throats. And you sit back in your high chair and you laugh. Those blacks don't even know what's happening to them. Yes, we do. Just many of us are scared. And it only takes some of us who are not afraid to empower the rest. It only takes a few of us who are not afraid to empower the rest. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And we have enough on this platform to shake the whole system. But we must learn. We must learn. And it's going to be stages. It's going to take us some time, because we cannot do it in ignorance of the matters of the religion. Because if we're ignorant, we're not even going to recognize what's happening. We have to learn. There are certain knowledge that all of us must have, and we must all work together to make sure each and every one of us got it. Right? So I thought of something before I continue. That was my scattered thoughts. So we're going to go into selective readings now. This year, inshallah, if Allah give me life, I'm going to have a separate class. I don't think it's going to be time scheduled. So if you're there, you could catch it, and then you just catch the recordings. I'm going to walk us A to Z through the learning process, as if we're all beginnings, including myself. We're going to start from scratch while we continue doing what we're doing, but I'm going to have sessions just as if we're starting from scratch. We just uttered the Shahadatain. We just became Muslim. What I need to do. And I'm going to design that so that we can catch everything, because I can look hindsight now. What would I would have liked to have done when I started and I didn't have it? I have it now. And I'm gonna pour all I have out in me into you. Right? And trust me, those who are trying to oppress us are not going to like how much I'm going to give you. It's going to shake the foundations of their stuff. And they're going to attack. Trust me. You will see soon they will attack, and I'm going to be the target of that attack. So it's coming. Trust me. But guess what? I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond. So we're going to go through a war, not fighting with hands, an intellectual, educational, religious, academic war. it's going to take place. We're not going to run. We will respond. Because personally, those who are going to attack us, I don't even think they're like that, tell the truth. But they do. So we're up for the challenge. Bring it. Bring it. We're up for it. We're ready. In my Deion Sanders voice, we coming. We coming. We're coming. We're coming. We're not running. We're not going to duck. It's too much at stake for us to run from you. And like I said, you're not like that anyway, personally, in my opinion. Because the leader of those who are going to attack us, I know ain't cut like that. I know firsthand they're not cut like that. So I'm not worried about it. Right? No hands. No. This is intellects. It has nothing to do with anything related to physically hurting anyone. We're more intellectual than that. We can handle it. Trust me. It has nothing to do with anything physical. This is all right here and right here. All of what we need is right here, and it'll all come out right here. That's all we need. So don't misunderstand. Everything we need, it starts here, goes here, and comes out of here. Right? That's what we're talking about. And what we have to do, which we've been doing, is daily educating ourselves. And those who support us, like Sayyidi Sheikh Samir, we have to take advantage when we have these opportunities. So when we have the likes of Sheikh Samir who are saying, listen, I'm with you. What do you need? How can I help you? What weapons you need? Intellectual weapons, educational weapons, evidences. What do you need? I'm here for you. It's our job to take all that information, absorb it, understand it, and spit it back out. That's our job. Don't worry. We have scholars all over the world who are supporting us. Wherever I fall short, and I fall short a lot, but trust me, I got mountains behind me. Wherever I fall short, they're going to pick it up. They're going to pick it up. Wherever I fall short, they're going to come as reinforcements. We're not running. We're going to do the work. Okay, with that being said, let us go to page 10 and continue our reading, inshallah. Let's recite Al-Fatiha to the soul of Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah. Al-Fatiha. So we're going to go to the paragraph above A4.3 to finish up. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, but if someone has doubts, Allah Ta'ala be our refuge, about any of the tenets of faith in which belief is obligatory, as defined at books U and V, and his doubt cannot be eliminated except by learning one of the theologian's proofs, then it is obligatory for him to learn it in order to remove the doubt and acquire the belief in question.
So now when you talk about ilm al-kalam, right, which is the science of theology, right? So I need to, right? When you're talking about ilm al-kalam as a science, that's going to talk about the detailed textual and intellectual evidences for the basis of the Islamic creed. Whenever you're talking about studying ilm al-kalam as a science, that science of ilm al-kalam, its subject matter is the rational, intellectual evidences and textual evidences for the foundations of the Islamic creed and supplying its details. So, in other words, what are we obligated to know? The foundations of the Islamic creed. So, when we're talking about belief in Allah, we want to know what is obligatory to attribute to Allah, what is permissible to attribute to Allah, what is impossible to attribute to Allah. And for the messengers, what is obligatory to attribute to the messengers, what is permissible to attribute to the messengers, what is impossible to attribute to the messengers. And then matters related to the unseen, matters of the life in the grave, matters of things on the day of judgment, paradise, hellfire, and everything that relates to that. So that is our foundations of the belief. Every single morally responsible individual must know these matters. So for us, no one can be ignorant of that. If every one of us teach every one of us these basic matters, all of us will have a sound Islamic creed. That's at the base level. There can be no one among us who is mukallaf, who is morally responsible, who doesn't know these matters. It's our collective obligation to make sure everyone individually who is responsible knows these things. They don't have to know the details. They just need to know these are our core beliefs as Muslims, and we must believe them. So that's education. So every one of us who learn this, teach the other. That's our job. Everyone in this case is going to be a teacher. The levels of the teacher are going to be different. They're not all going to be the same. Let me explain what I mean by this analogy so it sticks in our minds. When we studied in school, not every teacher is a professor in the university. Some of them are high school teachers. Some of them are secondary school teachers. Some of them are elementary teachers. Some of them are kindergarten teachers. Some of them are preschool teachers. Some of them, that's their career forever. For 20 years, 30 years, they teach preschool. They teach K through 6. They teach intermediate level. They teach high school. Some teach college. Some teach graduate school. They're levels of teachers. Likewise, among us, with our religion, there must be levels of teachers. There are some people, all your job is to go to people's house and teach them how to pray. That's your job. Everyone who learns, you go teach them how to pray. That's all you do. That's your job. Every time we get someone who's coming into Islam, someone from our community, they need to learn how to pray. This is person's dedicated to teach them the rules of prayer. This one is dedicated to teach them the basics of belief, the attributes that are necessary for Allah, 20 or 13, the necessary attributes for prophets, all of those things. Your job is to do that. What do? Repeat it. They didn't make sure they memorize it. There's a certain book, there's a summary like Al-Maqasid or other books we use. Your job is to go from place to place, city to city, and teach Al-Maqasid. That's it. Nothing else. That's all you do. Over and over and over till you die, you're going to teach the people Al-Maqasid. Then there's someone at another level, because I'm Shafi'i, I speak in Shafi'i school. Your job is to teach Matan Abi Suja'a. That's what you're going to do. Your job is to teach Az-Zubat. Your job is to teach Umdat Salik. Your job is to teach At-Tahawiyah. Your job is to teach Jawharat Tawheed. Your job is to teach Al-Aqaid Nasafiyah. Your job is to teach this book. That's how we have to start thinking as a collective. Not one person got to do all that. It's not possible. He doesn't have enough time. So we have to train each other in every area. Your job is to teach this book of Sirah. You're going to learn. We're going to collect money. We're going to send you to this teacher for this purpose. You're going to Al Azhar to do this, not to play around. This is what you're going to do. And you're going to come back. Here's the teacher for this. Here's the teacher for that. Here's the teacher for that. That's how we have to move. We're either going to go sit with people we don't like, who we know don't have our best interests. We're going to be, but they have something we need. We're going to go get it. Just like some of us went to school and we know daggone well they don't mean good for us, but we got to get the education. We have to get the education. We need the careers. Sometimes some of us going to work in jobs we don't like because we're trying to get somewhere. That's what we have to do. So the base has to be covered. The bases have to be covered. Listen, we got to get serious. We at war. All this, I don't want to help. No, we can't afford. Everybody have to help. Some's going to be financial. Some's going to be physical. Some's going to be intellectual. Some's going to be resources. All of us have to be on board to get this job done for our people. Everybody. No one is free from responsibility. So when we're talking here, okay, we all got the basics. Everybody got the basics. No one is ignorant of the basic rules of the religion. We might not know the details. Now that's the next level, and this is what Imam an-Nawawi is talking about. There's going to be a level of some people who need to know these details. So they're going to go into Ilm al-Kalam. Why? Because they're going to need to know the rational evidences for all we're saying. They're going to need to know the textual evidence in which book, in which narration, what are the levels of the hadith, what did the scholars say about this, what did the scholars relate to, in which books. There has to be some among us who had that knowledge. Not everybody needs to know that. But among us, there must be some people who can actually research. Someone tells us something, where, which book, who narrated that, where. There must be among us those who have the ability to do that. So no one just tells us anything, because we know that doesn't work for us. Even if it's we trust you, we do trust you. But for our own dignity, for our own safety, we have to have our own independent researchers, fact checkers. Because you do make mistakes, right? You are a human. We can't afford to live off your mistakes. We can't. That doesn't mean we don't believe you. But we reserve the right to protect our collective interests. Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry, we have so many things going on. I had to stop for a minute. Uh, So, so as my point is, so there must be someone that can do that. And we can't be afraid to do that. I had a conversation yesterday, and we were talking about what we need. And at the end of the conversation, I got kind of upset. I was talking with my fellow teachers. I did. But I wasn't upset at the teacher. I was upset at our condition. Basically, we discovered in the discussion what we don't have in terms of Islamic scholarship. And we got to rely on someone else. And we're relying on someone else, but we'll just step in when it's unique to our condition. Other than that, we're just going to take orders. That's a mistake. Even if it's a necessity of the time, we have to change that. We can't keep referring to others and they make the final decisions and we know nothing about the decision. We just accept the ruling. That doesn't work for us. That's a mistake. We have to reach the level where even if we're not making the ruling, we can follow how you got to that ruling. So whatever sources you use, we need to have them. And you're going to actually do the work as the jurist or as giving the legal verdicts, but we're going to be able to follow that legal verdict. You're not just giving us rules and we don't know where they came from and we just listening to you. That doesn't work for us. So that means we got to establish libraries. We got to know what books are trustworthy and which books are not. Just like they do, because they have those libraries. And let me wake you up. When you see people with all them books behind them, you know they have them videos and the big shake and all those books. I know books. A lot of those books are not trustworthy. The printing companies are not trustworthy. They're mistakes. So you got it. You have it. We're not fooled. We know better. So you're sorting it out and dishing it to us. Well, since you have the same thing, why shouldn't we have the same thing? Even if you're telling us the same thing you're doing, share it with us. And let us research and let us look and build research teams just like you have. Why is it a standard for you? It's fine. And for us, it's a lower standard. Why? Why? We shouldn't accept. I'm talking about us. Forget asking anybody else. Why do we accept that? So no, we need to produce our own teachers. And then they will learn, and one day they will be the ones doing that research, not someone else. Or they will be sharing in research in the collective work of the ummah, not always receiving instructions and never being able to give any. Or understand the instructions that you're being given. No, we don't accept. Whatever you have, we deserve. It's equal. Whatever books in your library belongs in our library. Whatever access you have, we need the same access. And then we ourselves need to develop where we embody and understand that. That's it. Right? So now, because when we have doubts, we're going to learn enough what? To remove those doubts. So if you have doubts in the basics of the creed, you have to learn enough of Ilm al-Kalam, what? To get rid of those doubts. But if you don't have access, how are you going to get rid of the doubts? You don't have any access. You don't have access. You don't have access. We have to have access. Give me the keys. And you keep telling you don't deserve the keys, you're not qualified. All right, well, we're going to make our own keys and our own building. How about that? Since you won't let us give us keys and say we're not qualified, we're too stupid to turn a key, so you won't give us keys, and we're not trustworthy enough to protect the contents inside the building, we're going to build our own building and make our own special keys. How about that? We're going to build our own building and we're going to make our own keys. How about that? since you won't allow us to join you and become respected leaders amongst you, we'll build our own institutions and we'll make our own leaders, and that way we'll be respected. How about that? Can I tell y'all a story quickly? I'm going to pause here. We'll come back to that tomorrow. I'm sorry, I have so many things in my mind. You know, sometimes you learn from life, even bad things, right? I told y'all, we were street dudes before we learned Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. We were street, from the project, street dudes, criminals. And we were pretty good at that. Let's say that. And I'm just telling you the story. I did my time for it. It's over. So I'm just telling you the story. I went to jail for it already. We all did our time. We paid and we changed our lives, as you can see, right? So I'm going back in my teenage years, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, right? Not 30 years, 35 years ago. Whew, man, I feel I'm getting old. Wow. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right? So in my neighborhood, there would always be the big drug dealer, and not in my neighborhood, from other parts of the city. But where I'm from, we had this pride. From where I'm from, if you're not from my neighborhood, we don't mess with you like that. That was in those days. We've grown, but I'm some of the story, right? So we wouldn't even get drugs from other people. We wouldn't do it. Like, you can't come in my neighborhood and hustle if you're not from my neighborhood. Not happening, right? I'm talking about in my generation, right? So I can just remember some events. So guys that weren't from my neighborhood, you always had dudes in your neighborhood who want to come up. They don't stick together, so they'll go and break all the daggone rules. And I remember one guy was like that. And he actually was not originally from our neighborhood. He moved into our project. And he decided, because he was bigger than most of the guys, and he had some guys from my neighborhood that were kind of rough, he decided that he's going to control the activities in the neighborhood, and who can sell where, and who can do this, and who can not do that. That was his plan, right? And he was actually doing it. So it's a certain area in my neighborhood where we call it the flow, right? That's where everything would happen, right? And it was particularly my project, my area where we lived. My older brother got wind of that. Everybody, if you in a neighborhood, everybody could do their thing. As long as you're from the neighborhood, everybody do their thing. So this one guy decides that. And my older brother was the leader of my neighborhood in our generation. My older brother was the leader of the neighborhood. And anyone who doubted would get the lights beat out of him and find out real quick. Right? So he's my older brother. Not my oldest brother, my older brother than me. He's like 4 years older than me. So the guy, he has two dudes from my neighborhood. I never forget this. He has two guys from my neighborhood, and he decides he's pressing everybody in the neighborhood. You got to get it from me, and you got to do this and this and that. But he's getting it from somebody outside the neighborhood. When it got wind to my brother my brother went and said, guess what? Now you can't do nothing, and almost demolished the guys that was from our neighborhood that was supporting them. Like, this ain't old cases. This is stuff that's known. It's not old cases. It's known. We already did the time, I told you. They already know this stuff. You just don't know it. But I'm giving you a moral lesson behind it. Demolished them dudes. Like, even us was like, hey, you're going to kill him. That type of point he was making. And he said, we don't cross each other, period. Right? I never forget this. And then young guys, they went up and made connections with bigger people, which ultimately got us our federal case. I'm just telling you this story so you get my point. It's because it's connected to what we need to do. We just ain't doing crime, right? So we were dealing with Dominicans, direct connect, as they say. And those Dominicans stuck together. They were in New York. You would see them together. And when we would deal with them, we would go as a group. And I remember these are the suppliers, and it would be told to them, listen, you can't come in our neighborhood. You can help us, but don't dare try to come in our neighborhood or we'll turn this stuff on you. That was, right? Right? We'll turn on you. You can help, but you can't come take over the neighborhood. And don't try to double back us, right? And I was thinking about this, right? We stuck together no matter what, even against the people who was actually supplying us. They couldn't break our connection. That's some strong stuff. We was teenagers. These are doing international stuff from country to country. But we were so tight, they couldn't break us. Zero. And they respected us. Even finally, when we got locked up and they told on us. So remind you guys with this crime stuff, there's a such thing as ongoing criminal enterprise. And the feds use it. You can catch a case for something you never even did. They'll just put you in it and make it a conspiracy. And that's how they got a lot of blacks. They couldn't break through their organizations. What they did is they got them in conspiracy cases. A lot of stuff they didn't even do. But you can't beat a conspiracy case because all they got to say is you knew of something, even if you had nothing to do with it. But you knew about it. They can knock you off. So don't sell drugs. Don't get in trouble. Don't do that stuff. That's how they got a lot of us. So have nothing to do with a drug dealer. Have nothing to do with it. Don't take his money. Don't talk to him. Don't put yourself in that position. It's a trap. As one of my co-defendants always say now, the streets is a lie. So don't do it. That's for my young people who got ambitious to be a man. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Take it from someone who already experienced it. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. But there are lessons you can learn from it. My lesson in that was what that I'm talking about now. Us as a people, we have to stick together. We can benefit from others, but we're never going to let no one take over us and dominate us and control us, even if they have more than us. Do y'all got the point? Do you got the point? That's my point. Even if they're stronger than us, even if they're more knowledgeable than us, even if They have more resources than us. If we stick together, they will never dominate us, even if we go to them. Do y'all get my point? I told that whole story just to tell you that. Because those Dominicans and the Colombians, they had way more money than us. They actually had the damn fields making the stuff. They had everything, but we wouldn't let them break our unity or come in our neighborhoods or take over. It was only a cooperative effort, right? If we could be criminals and understand that as teenagers, can't we be law-abiding, positive Muslim adults and do the same thing legally and do the same concept? We were kids and we understood that. We grown adults. You know, we are righteous people. We have Masjid and children. And can't we do the same thing? We did it as criminals and teenagers. As my brother-in-law says to me all the time, he said, man, do you know how much stuff we had to do what we did? We got away from the police. We got away from the stick-up boy. We got away from this treacherous people that's around you. All that stuff to do what you did. You can't figure out how to do the right stuff with all that intellect you used to do that crime. You can't do the right stuff with all them skills you had. So don't let nobody come and tell us we stupid. We're not stupid. We can do the right thing. We had on the ground training in these ghettos, how to build. We did it. Now do the right stuff. Now do the right stuff. Do you understand my point? Do y'all clearly understand my point? I only tell you that story, and all of you have your individual stories. Some of you I know. You was the man in the dunya, and now you became an Islamic chump. What happened? Because I was in there with some of you. So I know you know what I'm talking about. I was there. We were together. And I know your crews. You did it in the streets. Now you get into Islam and you're a servant. You was figuring out how to buy Mercedes and all that and BMWs and Range Rovers, and you don't even got no credit. You was apartments all over the country and you don't sign one lease. You figured all that stuff out. Now you can't figure out how to be a pious person and build institutions for the development of your people. You were going all over the country doing stuff. You can't figure it out. Y'all get my point? So don't let nobody come sell us short. We've experienced a lot as a people. And that knowledge should be easy for us to build. Easy with all those skill sets. Because we do sit around when we just chilling and tell war stories. Well, take those war stories and make them realities for the upliftment of your people in good ways. That's all Malcolm did. Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Rahimullah, that's all he did. He took all that stuff he learned in the streets and built the nation with it. That's what he did. All them skills that he learned in the world when he was out there in the dunya, he transferred them to build something positive. That's it. And that is a wisdom in that. That is a wisdom. We went through these things for wisdom, not for nothing. So stop letting someone, because you became a Muslim, now you became incapable of building. No, now you should really build. Now you have a purpose of building instead of destroying. Now you have a real purpose in life. Now you can serve the community instead of destroying the community. You can build institutions that uplift the community, the entire community, not institutions that destroy the community and only uplift a few individuals. You can reverse the whole trend. You can do it. And we're doing it. This is evidence that we're having this conversation, that we're doing it. Stop letting people sell us short. Reject that stuff. with the most strong rejection. We are capable. We can do it. We can do conferences. We can do retreats. We can do all that stuff. We can teach books. We can build. We can have camps. We can do it. If we stop selling ourselves short, we can do it. It's easy. Do y'all follow me? And in our language, do you feel me? I mean this stuff with all my heart. And listen, there are some other than us who love the thought of what we're talking about, and their hands are with ours. They see the benefit of the whole ummah through us. They know if we ever get it right, what da'wah would be in America. But we got to get it right. They see that. They know it. And they down. And they support. We monthly, weekly, they do that. Right? We can do it. We can do it. And we're doing it. And inshallah, we'll continue. But I'm telling you, 2023 is going to be our year, inshallah. 2023 is going to be our year to turn the volume up. For those who's built for a struggle, let's go. Let's get it. We're here. Let's get it. We're not running. We're not hiding. We're not putting our head down. We're not tap dancing. We're not smiling when ain't nothing funny. We're not saying, yes, sir, boss. We ain't doing none of that. We ain't doing none of that. May Allah make it easy, inshallah, tonight. Oh, I'll fill in tonight for Sheikh Yahya because he's not going to have the class. So tonight at 7 o'clock, we won't wait till 7:30. 7 o'clock, I'll come in with the lesson. With Sheikh Yahya is doing, I'll do the lesson, inshallah. So you'll still have the lesson tonight at 7 o'clock, inshallah. Because he can't make it. He's at another event. So I'm going to fill in for that lesson, inshallah. So see you tonight, inshallah, at 7 o'clock. Barakallahu fikum. Keep us in your dua. Keep this work in your dua. Listen, we got to do what we have to do. Let's not be afraid. Let's get it done. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.